going to the secretariats, witnessing government activities, going to government house, and then General Gowan in those days would visit, and it had an impact on me, but maybe not a conscious one, but later life I realized that it did. Of course, as I grew older, got into business, I saw the challenges that we have in business because of decisions of government. I saw the difficulties we have in our general environment. And myself being an engineer, maybe even a project manager, I felt that like that thing of getting involved, being able to do something, impact, to change things. But the real journey started in 2012. I had gone to see my father in Undo at the time. And we were just talking, we had this argument with young people and older people about how they were so, entitled, they got cars, they got everything in their generation. And he said to me, look, you're the most educated and most exposed generation that this country has ever provided, but that you're the most unproductive.
Wow.
He said, very few of us are in academia. Very few of us are in the foreign service as a career people. Very few of us are in government. We're doing nothing to impact this country. And it struck me at the time. And that's the time that I said to actually go into active, to go and seek office. And we started this discussion, and unfortunately, 4 or 5 months after, he passed on. And I continued.
God rest his soul.
Amen.
So, in you now dipping your feet in the water and you are in it, can you tell us the journey so far? What have you been able to do?
It's been quite a journey. I tell people there's a difference. For me, you can only be a politician when you're in office and when you're seeking office. You cannot just be a politician all the time. So I think I was seeking office in 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And since then, this is the second time I'm seeking office. But in between then, what I've been doing is that I've been involved with community service across my area. I've been involved in inspiring people, and doing so many different things in the community. Of course, you see so many politicians, and this is the problem that we have. You have politicians that are not seeking office, they are not in office, but they call themselves politicians. And that is really the drag and the weight on the entire political system. So I think there's a small, we have something that shows what we've been doing, the journey so far, all the things that we've been able to do in the 8 years, which mainly is community service. So I think that should be here to see.
Okay. Are we ready to hear that right now? I think Mr. Akinola will talk us through some of them.
Can't see it. We're having technical problems. Voilà, just take control, take it over. If they're not doing what they're meant to do. I can't. To do over the period, in the last 8 years, like I said, quite apart from politicking, is the involvement with the community. So we've done things in health, We've done things in education.
Yeah.
Within the community, we've tried to do things with the local infrastructure
Okay.
for the small villages, etc., etc. But most importantly, I've tried to engage the youth. There are two types of youth. You know, we all know that the youth are the majority in our population. But there's a difference. There are two types of youth. There are those that are not in any kind of skills training. They're totally uneducated. They're not in work, any kind of work. And then there's those that are educated, they're skilled, etc., etc. So there are two types. There's one type that needs intervention because you can't empower them. They have nothing for you to empower them with. And then there's the other type that need empowerment. So what I've been trying to do also is working with those two groups of the same youth and see where we can bring in intervention to support them. And with the other empowerment, I've been able to attract things from the Bank of Industry, all these small loans for at least 200, 300 youth to start small businesses. As far as intervention, this is sitting down with people, encouraging them to go to school, learn a skill, give them skills training, etc., etc. But I think the brochure speaks for itself.
Thank you very much. But what does it take? I mean, this is, when you're talking about the two different type of youth, we're talking about some major population in the Ondo Central area. What does it take for you to do this kind of thing? The resources?
It takes a lot. I tell people I've done a lot of very challenging things in business in my life, very difficult and complex things. But involvement in politics and involvement in the community is the most difficult thing I've done by far. It takes a lot. First of all, let's talk about the community-related issues and the social issues. So raising money to be able to do some of these things, it's tough. I thank God for my brothers, my sisters, my friends, and people who share this vision, who have been contributing over the years, you know, to see that all these things are done. Even when you try and do these things, you face challenges from people there who don't want these things done, for whatever reason. You know, they want to keep people the way they are, so that's it. Of course, I have to travel a lot because you can't sit in Lagos and Abuja and say you want to impact your community. So that's been another challenge. But the greatest challenge of all is the politics. As we enter into politics right now, I'm running for Senate of Ondo Central. I have 6 local governments, 1,607 polling units.
Wow.
And when you talk about a structure, when people talk about structure, we have to have people at the local government level, the ward level, the unit level. A lot of people, you ask them what's your local government, a lot of people like me and you, they just might know it. Ask them what's their ward. They don't even know what their ward is. Ask them what's their unit. They don't even know. But in the other areas, politics is life. Politics is business there. So everybody is very, very, very aware. So keeping track of 1,607 units and the different people in them, interacting with them, getting them on site, talking to them, it's very, very difficult. It takes a lot. It takes a lot.
I read an article you published on Facebook, and you know, a segue into my question is what you just said about 1,607 polling units. You also wrote in that article that you were able to nominate or appoint 3,200 agents, party agents, to man those polling units.
Yeah, for the upcoming election.
So in looking at these resources that we're talking about, how do you manage 3,200 people?
Well, there's a hierarchy within the system. Of course, very expensive, and especially as we get into the election, it gets more and more expensive. First of all, you have 6 local governments, so you have somebody heading each local government. Then, for example, Odo West local government, which is my home local government, we have 12 wards. So you have somebody heading each ward. Then, in the wards, you have the units. You have somebody heading each unit. And the way it's structured here, in each local government, each ward and each unit, you have the chairman, you have the woman leader, you have the youth leader. So someone is meant to galvanize the youth, someone is meant to galvanize the women, someone is a chairman. But it gets very funny. I mean, I've been to places where the woman leader is a man. Okay. Because there are no women, or they're not interested, you know. And when people talk about women in politics also, I mean, it's something that we all want to encourage, but they don't understand how it is down the line. A lot of women are not interested in being in politics. You know, so all the women that do things in the city, have these things for women and all that, I think there's still a lot more to do to reach down to the lower base. But like I said, it's a hierarchy in which to keep everybody together. And let me tell you something. Since March, we've been having meetings bi-weekly on a unit level, on a ward level, because it's those meetings that keep people together. They have a bond, and it's the bond that you take in as a cohesive team into the election. Of course, when people are in your structure, when their mother dies, you are part of it. When they want to go to hospital, you are part of it. When the child needs a job, you are part of it. So, like, it's enormous responsibility.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Here's the challenge that I have, and I have a challenge with this question because I know that most of the people on this platform know you as a serial entrepreneur, a serious businessman, passionate about what you do. Have you jettisoned your business? Are you retired? I mean, how do you create time for this with all the businesses that you have your tentacles on?
Oh no, I'm certainly not retired. I can't afford to retire, for sure. Well, we've been in business for a while, and what happens, it's a challenge because my major business is, apart from other things I do, is engineering contracting. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when people hear, oh, the chairman is now in business, in politics, so to speak. Meanwhile, I'm only in politics when I'm running for election. They say, oh, they may not be able to do this with him. So we've lost quite a bit. But a lot of people realize that, the businesses have been on ground for a long time. There's a structure, there's a management structure, they're independent, they can do the work that they need to do. Mm-hmm. But certainly the time to network and to do a lot of things that I need to do is not there as much as it should be. But my business is still a primary concern because that is how I earn an income. It's very difficult balancing the both. It's like you have to, when I go to Ondo and I spend a week in Ondo, when I come back here, I have to take a day break to be able to shift my head into another gear entirely. And then when I go back one day to shift my head back into that gear, I have to compartmentalize. It's very difficult to get them to work together.
Well, somehow you've been able to walk the tightrope of both politics and business.
So far, so good.
Okay. So, could you then tell us why this interactive session? Why this fundraiser?
There are two reasons. I find a lot of people, when I go into politics or community, whatever, it sparked the interest of a lot of people like me. I've had a lot of friends come over, just spend time with me, come and see what's happening. And I realize more and more, I've had so many comments. Some people say, oh, it's wonderful what you're doing. Oh, we're behind you. Some people say, oh, why are you wasting your time on Nigeria? And I realize that for my audience, because my audience are mainly my friends and people of my own background, I felt the need to let people know what's really going on in this country. People to really understand. Some people don't understand what the political system is about, how the country is run, how the country is broken down, from the federal to the state, to the law wards, to the units, etc., etc. I needed people to know what is actually going on in politics, more of which they will learn as we go on this program. And then to be able to relate that, yes, you want people to go into office, people who you believe can do the right thing, but to let people know that this thing needs funding. We talked about 3,200 people to be employed on election day. They're going to be paid stipends. We're going to do mobilization, logistics, there's so much. I want them to be able to understand, look, this is the enormity of the task, of running an election. And if you want people to get in, you should support them. So I want to be able to showcase how complex it is and why we're asking for money. We don't want to raise money from all the big single donors because that's what's been happening. People talk about godfatherism, this, that, and the other. I want to do it the proper way where hundreds of people, thousands of people contribute what they can, and therefore they buy into the political process and they take interest in it. And I think that's what makes candidates also accountable at the end of the day.
For some of us, we believe that democracy is about government of the people, by the people, for the people. So in that regard, in most civilized crimes, it's usually the people that actually fund the politicians, not the politician bringing the bags of money and saying whatnot. So from that perspective, I was able to actually understand where you're coming from, expecting that people can then hold you accountable. Because it's not just you trying to spend your money and going there to take your money back. Yeah. But people need to understand that in this high environment. You said something about people saying, maybe, what are you doing? Why are you dying for Nigeria? Maybe, and you had said something earlier about women not being in politics. Maybe the same problem is what the same issue is what they're addressing, all of them, saying, why Nigeria? People run from politics, but you are in it, and for the long haul.
Look, it cost me, 1 month ago, it cost me a full tank of petrol from Ondo to here was 15,000. Now it's 40,000 naira. It's 40,000. The petrol in Ondo is 500 naira per liter at the pump, you know, and it continues going up. That's a fact. You talk to people, a lot of people don't know the price of gari and rice, but I know when the increments because the people around me tell me. The fact is that even traveling for the elite, you know, people would get up and just go off to the UK, fly business class, all that. I've met people, everybody's going on Ethiopia Airlines, Air Maroc, Rwanda Airlines. The truth is that this thing is real. The mismanagement of the resources of this country is being done by people that we put in office. So if you say you want things to really change, and you even though you cannot be involved, then what you should do is support the people who want to be involved. And I think once people, and I go, like myself, going, and we are successful, it inspires so many other people who have been in the private sector before. You know what? If this is done, you know, surely we can do this. So I think that's a good thing.
Okay. Now, when we started this as an interactive session, please feel free to ask any question from our candidate. Your question will be read to him so that he can answer it. It's not just the questions that I have or you think that we had written down that he's only answering. He'll answer any of your questions. So please do feel free to do that. We're looking forward to any questions you may have. But while we're waiting for our participants, our audience to ask questions, could you possibly intimate the audience on what you have been able to do to impact the Ondo Central community? What you have been in the recent past?
Okay, the recent past for me is 8 years, because that's when I've been involved.
Okay.
There are 3 things I'm particularly happy about. And when people understand, they want to get involved as well. Over the last 8 years, we've done 800 scholarships for people to go to school. Now, hearing this, someone in our audience will say, 800 scholarships? You know, you must be a billionaire and all that. And when I tell them that, you know, for a child to go to primary school for a year, in some places in Ondo State, is 15,000 naira. 5,000 naira a term. That's all it costs. And because of that, a lot of children are not in school. Some of them go for 1 term, they drop out the next term. Because of 5,000 naira. And this is not the few poor. This is the majority, vast majority of the people out there. So 800 scholarships have been able to take children into primary school to get basic education. We've been doing this for several years now. For secondary school, 100,000 naira. And these are good have decent secondary schools. It's 30,000 naira a term. This is the kind of money that people in Lagos, they spend it sitting down in 20 minutes in a restaurant. And you know, it totally changes the lives of people. So I'm very glad with what we were able to do with education. Even, I was somewhere yesterday in one of the remote areas, Litaye in Ondo, and we were sitting in a school addressing some people. It had no roof. I mean, this is a reality. There are 3 blocks, there was not one of them that had a roof on it. And you start asking yourself, do people actually come here every day for school? But they do. On that 5,000 naira per term. And at least they learn how to read, they learn how to add, they learn how to spell. And that social thing that going to school gives to little children, at least they get it. So that's one thing. The other thing is health. Sorry? Okay. The other thing is health. We've been able to do a lot in health. And that also makes me very happy because you see, after a basic education, well, health is even the most important thing. The education comes after. And we find that people are dying for as little as 5,000 naira. You know, I mean, some time ago, my wife had some health challenges, 15 years ago, and I know how much we spent all over the world. And when you imagine that there are people like me and you, and some of them are even educated, not dirt poor, and they cannot afford to go through a full course of a malaria treatment, and people are dying. So we partnered with the University of Medical Sciences in Ondo about 5-6 years ago, and they have a social services unit. And you know, this is very interesting because you'll be surprised how sophisticated some things outside Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt are. And what we do is that we look for people who cannot fund their medical bills. And social services units, they look at these people, they look at the quality of people coming to visit them, because some people try and get you to pay the money, but they look at the quality of people coming to visit them to know whether they're wealthy enough. They go and visit them at home, etc., etc. And so they now ask us and recommend people whose bills should be paid, and we've been doing that. But more importantly, surgical intervention. We've been able over the last 8 years to do a lot of surgical intervention, and that gives me great satisfaction, totally outside politics, because people would have died without that. A little girl living with her grandmother, I recall this particular one. She was bitten by a pig. Now, I never knew that pigs bit people. She was bitten by a pig. Two of her parents were missionaries in the field. It was left to fester. Then they brought her to hospital. The leg was already almost gone. The parents came in once or twice. The parents abandoned her. These are missionaries, Christian missionaries in the field, because they just couldn't cope. Most Nigerians cannot cope with the weight of life. That's the truth. They abandoned her. So we were able to come in and get her treated. And of course, today she's well. People have accidents on the expressway, Shagamu to Ore, all that. They bring them to the trauma center. We've done so much, and that gives me so much joy. So we'll be able to do a lot in that regard. And then finally, I think it's in the area of rural infrastructure. When you talk about infrastructure in the rural areas, people think, oh, big money. No. Sometimes you have a community and they have their farm. And it's a river that separates both. And during the rainy season, they try and build small bridges. They can't even get to the farm. You know, they build rickety thing. It breaks down. People get drowned and flooded away. So we've been able to do bridges in a lot of communities. I'm an engineer, so that helps. So we've been able to use local materials, local wood to do bridges. People can get to their farms and come back. We're able to provide water. And now we're doing solar lights. There are some places that I've not seen, and not even in the remote areas. In Boro in Ondo, they have not seen a flicker of electricity for more than 10 years. So when you put just a solar light in the town center, or the house of the Oba, or the market square, or where Okadas congregate, you have totally changed the lives of the people there. So those are a few things we'll be able to do, and it's been very, very rewarding.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Akinola. Or should I call him Engineer Akinola? We shall take a 5-minute break. Please, just to stretch our legs, and we'll come back for our next segment in the next 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Àtùbárí Matoshi Akínyínká la fẹ́ o. Àtùbárí Matoshi òun la wá fẹ́ níjọba. Òkùnkùn lè borí ìmọ́lẹ̀ láéláé. Akínyínká Akínọlá ò fún sẹ́nétọ̀ Ondo Central.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́sìn funfun ICP ló ti jáde.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Gbogbo ẹni tó bá Akínyínká rìn òkú wọn dẹ̀nà sóríire.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹ̀yin ti fẹ́ dọ̀rẹ́ o, ẹ̀yin ti dọ̀rẹ́ ẹ gbéra.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹ̀yin tòǹdó East and West Akínyínká làwa fẹ́.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹ̀yin tàkúrẹ́ North and South ẹ gbéra sọ.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹṣin funfun ti gbéra SDP lẹ́gbẹ́ wa.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
2023 tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà Akínyínká la máa dìbò fún.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹṣin funfun ti gbéra SDP lẹ́gbẹ́ wa.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
SDP. Àtùbárí Matoshi Akínyínká la fẹ́ o.
Àtùbárí Matoshi òun la wá fẹ́ níjọba.
Òkùnkùn lè borí ìmọ́lẹ̀ láéláé. Akínyínká Akínọlá ò fún sẹ́nétọ̀ Ondo Central.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́sìn funfun ICP ló ti jáde.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Gbogbo ẹni tó bá Akínyínká rìn òkú wọn dẹ̀nà sóríire.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹ̀yin ti fẹ́ dọ̀rẹ́ o, ẹ̀yin ti dọ̀rẹ́ ẹ gbéra.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹ̀yin tòǹdó East and West Akínyínká làwa fẹ́.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹ̀yin tàkúrẹ́ North and South ẹ gbéra sọ.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Ẹṣin funfun ti gbéra SDP lẹ́gbẹ́ wa.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká
2023 tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà akínká la máa dìbò fún.
Kárígó kárígó akíyíká ò kárígó.
ẹṣin funfun ti gbéra SDP lẹ́gbẹ́ wa.
Kárígó kárígó akíyíká ò kárígó.
SDP. àtúbárí mọ́tò ṣí akínyínká la fẹ́ o.
Àtúbárí mọ́tò ṣí òun làwa fẹ́ níjọba.
òkùnkùn lè borí ìmọ́lẹ̀ láéláé. akínyínká akínọ́lá ò fún sẹ́nẹ́tọ̀ Ondo Central.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́sìn funfun SDP ló ti jáde.
kárígó kárígó akínyínká ò kárígó.
Kárígó kárígó akíyíká ò kárígó.
Everybody, thank you for this interactive session that we have. We have been listening to our senator in waiting, Mr. Akinola. Yes, he is. Now we're going into an area, call it challenges that he has encountered, because I know he told us earlier that, like you said, you ran the first time in 2014, but here we are in 2023. What are the challenges? What are the problems or issues that you have had to deal with? Because I'm sure that in that 2014, you were not in SDP. Thank you.
Okay, I think what we're saying here is the challenges of the political system. I just want to clarify something. In 2014, I ran in the primaries in the APC for the gubernatorial.
Okay.
Now I'm in a general election. They're two totally different things. But the challenges are with politics in Nigeria generally. And for me, there are four things. And we need people to know and understand. First of all is the electorate themselves. There's huge voter apathy. In the last elections in Ondo State, I think we had approximately 1.5 million registered voters. We had 500,000 people that came out to vote. Almost 2/3 of the population did not vote. But they collected their voters card, because you never know, government will say, oh, if you don't have voters card, your child can't go to school and all that. So they got it. Maybe it's because they've lost confidence in the fidelity of the electoral system. You know, for whatever reason, and these are not people that want money, otherwise they would have come out to vote. This apathy comes to people like me and you know, who don't know anything about voting politics. People travel during elections. So it's a real problem. It's a real problem. The electorate, you want to help sometimes, you go somewhere, you are campaigning, and they say, oh, give us money, give us money. You know, so it's very challenging in that regard. The other challenge, and it's real, is violence. I was yesterday at a place, Bagby, on the way to Ore, went to address some people, and while we were having the address, my security aide came to me and said, sir, we have to get going very quickly. I said, well, what's happening? I said, let's just get going. So I cut the speech short. We got into our vehicles and we went away. And he said, some people are saying gathering. These, I think they said they were OPC or some other people, and they had guns, etc., etc. People will be amazed at the sheer amount of weaponry that is in this country. I've been to functions, and these are even festive functions, where there has been open carry of guns, sawed-off shotguns, double-barrel shotguns, pump-action shotguns. You see them, even in political spaces. But in this particular place yesterday, they said there were some people there, they had guns, and what they wanted was for me to give them some money, because I came to their area. So we had to go away. One of my security aides was very upset, because he was saying, oh, sir, you see, if we had our own guns, we would have faced them and all that. I said, look, I can't start buying guns for people. It is not allowed. But violence is real. And the challenge again is that the police do not get involved in political violence, except it gets to a very, very, very high level. If political thugs are fighting, shooting, killing each other, they will say some things like that, it's a party matter, or it's an internal matter. So that's a very, very big danger. The other thing is the behavior of state actors on election day. You know, let me relate this to vote buying, for instance. Normally, we know vote buying is legal. The rules are there. But at every polling station, you have an INEC official, you have a policeman. Now, if people who are selling their votes after voting, know where to go and collect their money and know the signs to give. And you tell me that INEC and police and everybody doesn't know? Everybody knows. You know, everybody knows. So the representatives of the state are complicit in the failure or in challenges that we have in elections in this country. So that's a very major challenge. Because who is to challenge the state? You know, I mean, luckily, INEC is doing much better now with the electronic voting, the accreditation, all of that. But it's a major challenge. And the final thing is this: vote buying. Now, somebody willingly sells their vote. Willingly sells their vote. We may say, oh, it's bad, it's wrong, it shouldn't be done. But if you go into the hinterland, into the country, 5,000 naira is a king's ransom for some people to ever hold in their hand at once. And then when you see that a lot of these people are so disconnected from government, you know, I was in Igushi, I was in a place called Orishubari Number. When you go to those places, they may not even know who the governor is. They don't understand how government works or how it should work. So for what they're thinking is that, hey, the party is back, that 4-year party is back in town. Somebody's offering me 5,000 naira. I'll take the 5,000 naira and I'll vote for you. Like I said, they call it Dibo Kosebe in Palace. You know, just vote for me and go and cook a pot of stew. But we tell them that, look, Dibo Kosebe Ojoko Iya Odun Mary. And that message, I think, is beginning to sink through. I'm hoping with what government has done recently with the cashless policy, it may also reduce it. But vote by, why it cannot totally determine an election, it has the power to alter an election. So you've done a lot of work. You've engaged, you've done everything. People believe in you, they want to vote for you. But on that day, except you've made that connection, you know, sometimes that 5,000 naira can have a total turnaround in the mind of somebody who wanted to support you. So it's government that should make sure that vote buying is killed.
Thank you very much, sir. You did say something about per term is 5,000 naira tuition. So when somebody gets that 5,000 naira,
he pays his fees. For one time, he pays the fees of a child.
That is the challenge that we have in our environment.
Poverty
this poverty mentality
is a problem.
And I remember we were having a discussion earlier on, and you said something about some discussion you had with some people. And I don't want it to be lost on me alone, but be presented to everybody else on this issue of vote buying. Can we see this video? Can we play that?
That was very interesting. So I want to give some context to that video.
Yes,
you know?
Go ahead.
I was in Akure North, in a place called Itagbulu. It was a town hall meeting. It was organized by a very good friend of mine, Okwemi Damulekun. Enough is enough. She goes around doing these kind of things. And we were there, engaging and talking. So we talked about vote buying. And I asked the question, I said, look, is there anybody here who has taken money on the line to vote for people? Then there was one young man who bravely said, look, I have. People were a bit quiet. Then people started putting up their hands. And they said, we took it together now. So majority of the hall had done this in Itagbulu, a very big community. I said to them, you know what? You agree that vote buying is bad? They said yes. We don't want to do it. They said yes. We want it better than they say yes. Okay? You know, let's say a prayer together. You know, and I was leading them in prayer and see what happened. You can play the clip now.
tó ti gbowó lórí ìlànà yìí tó lọ bọ́ọ̀tì wọ́n mú 5,000 3,000 tó lè ti darí lọ́wọ́ sókè. Òṣèlú wọlé yìí wọ́n darí àyàfẹ́ ẹjọ́ bá darí tó lọ́wọ́ sókè tó díje ọ̀rọ̀ díje kọ́lá sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ ní lábẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀. Ṣé gbogbo alágbà pé ṣé gbogbo ìyá ìṣẹ́ gbogbo alágbà? Òṣèlú òtúbọ̀dá wọ́n ní pé ìbò kó sébẹ̀ wàá sébẹ̀ ẹjọ́ kan pé ní máṣọ́rí lọ wàá ti ya ọdún mẹ́jọ. Sọ́kọ́ fẹ́ kó fẹ́ ká gba àdúrà kan ẹni bá láyẹ̀ fún ètò ìdìbò tó pọ̀ yìí nítorí àmọ̀ pé ká bá gba olóyìn olóńgbò àkọjá abẹ́ẹ̀kọ́. Ebi olówó àti sanwó gold buy báwo pdp ni o gbogbo òfin bá sọ̀rọ̀ òyìnbó. Àdìbàdàn mo fẹ́ ká gba àdúrà kan ìbò wá gbé owó sókè. Ẹ bá sọ ìdájọ́ ọlọ́run ẹlẹ́dùnmáyé. Owó tó ti bá gbà lórí ìlànà nígbà yìí. Nigeria.
So there we have it. The people there, when they were being sworn into some kind of, I will never do this, I reject this, most of them did not want to say exactly what the candidate was saying. But having said all this, we know why we're here. This is an interactive session to fundraise. And from what Mr. Akinola has been telling us, we all know how expensive this thing gets. So as you are on this platform, please do not hesitate to donate and fund this campaign. We've heard about his healthcare issue, infrastructure issue, all over the place, money being spent in the past 8 years. And I'm sure that it is through donations from a whole lot of people on different levels. I'm sure some of you are here right now. Please do not forget why we're here. It is to fundraise for our candidate. Account number and details are being presented on the screen right now. You can do a screen grab, take a picture of it, and pay to Polaris Bank. We're still going to be talking to Mr. Engineer Akinola, who doesn't want that engineer appellation, but I'm calling him Engineer Akinola. Our next issue to actually talk about is very simple. He needs to, well, I just thought that he needs to tell us the vision he has for Ondo Central right now. Once he becomes Mr. Senator, distinguished senator, what are your visions for Ondo Central?
Well, thank you, Ola. Well, let me talk about the issues that I have passion for.
Yes.
And of course, some of the issues that you have passion for, when you actually get to the position, you realize that some things may have to be moderated, some things may have to be jettisoned in totality, but I think most things can be done. First of all, I'm most concerned about the cost of governance. We can talk about oil and talk about our resources and all that, but we are not wealthy enough as a nation to run the kind of government we run, And if we're going to do it, we have to run it with moderation. There's something that offends me particularly. The minimum wage in Nigeria prescribed by government is 30,000 naira. 30,000 naira. Most state governments and a lot of the private sector are not paying it. In fact, let me tell you, there are graduates who are working in bookshops in Ondo who are earning 12,000 naira a month. So nobody pays it. That same government, under whatever guise you call it, sees it fit to pay a senator a salary so that somebody earning a minimum wage would have to work for 50 years before they earn the salary of a senator in 1 month. There's a huge injustice there. We're the most expensive legislature in the world, I think almost. So I will be saying, how do we bring down the cost of this government? If you really want to go out there and go and serve, why must you be paid this amount of money for what essentially is a part-time job? You're giving vehicles. These vehicles cost a lot of money. A lot of people are giving money for aids, constituency offices. They don't do these things. I've seen empowerment programs, in my area and even in Lagos and some areas where they are giving out cars and little other things for people. They've just rubbish the whole system. So I'm looking at bringing down the cost of governments, the cost of the legislature. I think that would be it may be very unpopular, but my thinking is that hopefully a lot of like minds get into the Senate and we're able to do this. Some people said to me, oh, it's not going to change Nigeria's economic outlook. I said, well, look, it will have a dent on it, whatever way, but it's more than that. It's a moral issue. If you're going to lead, you have to be able to lead people. You must have a sense of morality. And people are able to look at it, yes, these people are there to serve, and they're there to lead this country. So that's one thing I'm very passionate about. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry about that. The thing you just said is that some people have a question and say that a senator, 2 senators, 3 senators cannot make what you just said happen. When you look at it from the perspective of the population that you are dealing with, Ondo Central, those people that we're talking about, 12,000 naira and salary, 30,000, they are looking, we call it stomach infrastructure. How does something affect them right now? Because if you're going there to lower or reduce the cost of governance, how does it translate to their own pocket? And I do not, like some people will say, believe that 1, 2, 3 senators can make that idea happen in this country.
Okay, I'll tell you. First of all, you realize that most great things that happen, they happen through a process and not an event. It's not one cataclysmic event that makes it happen. But then again, if you have a voice, and your voice is a voice of reason, and you can back up this voice, and you are 2, 3, 4, 5, you try, next time you are 7, next time you are 10, it keeps going. But you see, the most important thing is this. It's not even so much what we're doing, it's what people who are on this show and other people, because people on this show understand the issues. A lot of people I talk to sometimes in the villages and all that, these issues fly over their heads. But people here understand what the issues are. If there's enough pressure, in whichever way, a lot of people are offended. And I'm sure on this show, if there's no pressure, well, look how a managing director of a multinational, of a bank, of an income generating institution, they do not earn the kind of money that Nigerian senators and House of Representatives members are earning. How can it be? What are you doing there? What is your productivity? How much is the country earning? So if this voice continues to come from the electorate itself, it gives strength to people like myself to continue to push it. So like I said earlier, it's a passion. It's something that I'm interested in, but we'll see how it goes. And I hope a lot of people take it up. And a lot of people are getting annoyed now. Look, we are suffering, it's difficult, our business is everything, and you're just collecting this money free every month or whatever. So that's that. The other thing I'm actually quite interested in is the issue of Buy Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes. A lot of government money is being spent and is not having an impact directly on the Nigerian economy. I think that governments should be compelled to spend money on Nigerian businesses and Nigerian services, except there's an alternative. I recall Arik Airlines, and of course I know they have their own challenges or whatever, but you're going on a business trip and they're paying for you with government money for a business class or first class ticket on British Airways and Qatar, whatever it is. If government is spending that money, they should spend it in Nigerian Airlines. If we're buying vehicles for government, they should buy vehicles that are made in Nigeria. If we're buying furniture for government house, there's beautiful furniture being made in Nigeria. So we should be looking for a Buy Nigeria policy, and even in terms of services as well. Something that I have passion for, so I've been an engineer for almost 40 years now, and engineering contracting. And I see every day new engineering companies spring up. And before you know it, 3, 4, 5 years, they become a multi-billion-dollar enterprise in Abuja. And these are foreign companies. People come to this country with just a briefcase, and they're getting all these huge contracts. I'm looking at what has happened, first of all, in banking.
Yes.
In the last 10, 15 years, where the banking is very, very Nigerianized now. I look at what's happening in the oil industry, the Local Content Act that has helped a lot of Nigerian companies to be able to get involved in the oil industry. I'll be looking to a Local Content Act for the construction industry because it's a huge industry. I'll be looking how it is by law. If government is giving out contract, even if it's to foreign companies or whatever it is, they must be able to take on local engineering companies as subcontractors. If they say, oh, they don't do the job well, then train them, supervise them, guide them, have pre-qualification issues, for getting them on. A case in point, the National Theatre. I wrote that in something I wrote recently. 50 years ago, was built by the Bulgarians. I think General Gowon, beautiful structure. 50 years later, it's been funded, the renovation of the National Theatre, a whole art village and all of that. And it's been funded with the Central Bank Bankers Committee. They're paying in dollars. And it's the Germans, the Israelis, the Indians, those are the ones doing this job and being paid in dollars. What happened? But if we had an act like that in place, where they're compelled to take on smaller engineering companies or Nigerian engineering companies, a lot of that money will go to Nigerian companies, it will be retained in Nigeria, and these people that, majority of the money they get, they evacuate it, they take it to their home country. At least it will stay in Nigeria, and maybe even in whatever measure, there will be less pressure on the Naira in that case. So there are many more, but I don't, I know our time is short. So
I've got a couple of questions on the platform, actually. The first question that came in says, how do you feel about gender equality?
Gender equality. Well, look, I was raised in a house with 3 women, right? And they are all very competent, accomplished women today. I believe in gender equality, yes, but I think we have to be careful because what's happening right now is that you have so many programs for women, this, women, that, women, this, women, that. And the women that are benefiting from these programs are women like the women I grew up with who competed with men and won. They competed with men and won. So yes, there should be gender equality. But when you start saying, oh, reserve this amount of space for women in government, reserve this amount of space for women in industry, yes, up to a point. But something happened. There's a women's group, I don't want to say their name, a women's group, a club in Victoria Island. They had something for women in politics. And women were meant to come and just invite maybe a male friend, your husband or whatever it is, come and look, hear women talk. We attended that meeting. I think maybe we were about 30 or 40 there. Of the 30 or 40, almost 30 were men. The women didn't show up to a women's event for women in politics in a sophisticated women's club in Victoria Island here. So when we talk about gender equality, yes, there should be no discrimination against women, you know, to achieve the various positions they want to achieve. And where there's discrimination, we should find a way to, you know, to overcome this and legislate against this. But I don't think it should just be a blank check for any, just creating space, no matter who the person is, no matter what it is. And that gender equality needs to go down the line to where I am coming from, you know, in Fagbe, yes, in Bolorunduro, you know, in Iju, in those kind of places. You know, we need to talk down there because that's really where they
So you do believe in gender equality?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So here's the second one. It says you mentioned so many areas you intend to tackle with the hopes of improving or changing the lives of your constituents. In view of the extensiveness of the list, because you've made so many of them, if you had to address the issues one at a time, how will you prioritize your list?
It's very difficult to prioritize at this point in time because you prioritize based on the known resources that you have. You prioritize based on the rules and the regulations that guide what you're doing. So my list, by the way, that I spoke about here is not exhaustive. Anybody serious about this country can talk about 100 things and they won't finish because there's a lot wrong with this country. So it'll be very difficult to prioritize. But I think for me, from a moral point of view, I think the cost of government would be a very... Ola, you go out to a government function. There's civil servants there. There are people who are in some of our paramilitary forces, and you look at the watches on their wrists. You know, so you realize that there's a morality issue here, and which if we address it, first of all, if you reduce the cost of government and what you pay senators, it may make it very unattractive to people who don't want to go there to do real work. That's one thing. Number two, it's people who go there will go there to do real work, and it will impact the people. So it's a multiplier effect when you do that.
Thank you. I think there's this thing about priority amongst the people that are online. This person, the question they asked is in line with that. It says, what will be your one-point agenda if you only had a choice of one? Still priority.
I say, you can't have a one-point agenda when you are going to represent people that big. You know, my agenda, look, there's rural infrastructure, for example, you know, which is a major problem in all our areas. I'm just a bush path to be able to get to your farm. There are little basic things like that. So there's too much wrong. And don't forget, I'm not going to executive office. I'm going to legislative office. I'm going to have to working with other people, partnership, coalitions, all of that. So it's very difficult to say that this is the one priority. But I know that whatever I'm doing there, apart from the legislative duties, I will be able to use that platform, combined with other things that I have, my own network, people that I know, et cetera, and be able to bring the change I want to Ondo Central.
Okay. I have so many questions. People are interested. So, sir, your constituent used to be notable for industrialization. But in the recent time, all industries established are gone. What is your strategy to industrialize Ondo Central again?
Okay, again, I must keep on making reference that I'm not going to executive positions.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not. But you see, the Senate seat is a platform, and which I keep telling people, which you can affect executive things. For example, there's Nirowi, the Nigerian-Romanian wood industry, which was established more than 40 years ago in Ondo. Right now, it's totally empty, it's derelict, a shell of its former self. I'm now working along with other people who have bought 30% of that business. The federal government owns a part, the government of the old Romania owns a part. We're working to see how we can rehabilitate Nirowi, not as a wood industry, but as an industrial estate. It has a lot of facilities and resources. I'll be looking, again, there's one of the things I didn't say about, one of the things I'll be pushing is some kind of legislation concerning the export of raw produce. Ondo produces a lot of cocoa, cashew, cola nuts, there's a lot of things out there. And these things are being exported raw out of Nigeria, like a lot of things are being exported raw out of Nigeria. There's no value addition. I'll try to see, is there a way that we can compel people to do primary processing in the place of origin of that produce? If they don't, then there's a regime of taxes over a calendarized period, especially at the port. Say, look, if you don't do a primary processing here, you're going to pay this. That will encourage people to set up at least industries for primary processing. It will add value. People in the local economy will also benefit from it. So in that way, yes, with industry and all that is good. I need to make a point here, Ola, because I was in a forum in Ondo also where they were talking about industry and all that. In a lot of places, people look at industry as the only avenue for development or growing a community. It's not so. There are communities in the UK and in the USA that are just education. Oxford, Boston, they have schools, they have universities, everything starts to converge around that, and it brings life into the place.
University College.
Yes, in Ondo, our past governor, Mimiko, he did a few things, University of Medical Sciences, Ganify kidney dialysis, etc. There's an opportunity there just for medical, for a medical corridor, So there are many things that can bring growth and development to an area, Ondo State is a tropical state. We can attract research institutions like the IITA, which is in Ibadan, things like that. So many things bring development quite apart from the manufacturing industry.
Okay. I think some people are interested in Ondo proper, and some are interested in the Nigeria issue. This question says, what are your thoughts on the restructuring issue? Should Nigeria stay as it is? If not, which structure would you propose?
Structure is very interesting because there are so many structures and cross-structures and counter-structures. We can only talk about the central theme. What I believe is that Nigeria should stay as one country. Okay. Because being as one country, the population that we have, it gives us strength. We have intermarried. There are a lot of good things about having Nigeria as it is. But I believe certainly we need to restructure. We need to go back to a time when we had, whether you call them regions or states or whatever it is you want to call zones. People of the same line of thought, people that want to progress in a certain way. There was a time when Western Nigeria, everybody had their own representatives in the UK. So in terms of restructuring has become such an issue also because in the past, all the safeguards that this constitution put in place for representation, for equity, for a sense of belonging have not really been adhered to. So definitely restructuring as far as fiscal restructuring, people to be able to get a large benefit of the income that they generate and use it in their zone. Restructuring in terms of a devolution of powers from a central government in Abuja, definitely. And I can tell you that in the upcoming assembly, this is going to be a major issue. And you need to elect people who are going to be able to go there and, not just go there for Ghana must go and just vote where they want. No, Nigeria is at an inflection point. And the issue of restructuring is going to be at the center of it, in whichever way it is going to come. But certainly, I believe Nigeria should remain as one.
Thank you. The next question is talking about the spread and maybe structure. SDP is not regarded as a party with national spread and not likely to produce much seat in the Senate. Do you have a plan to decamp to any of the main parties in order to sell your agenda at the Senate?
Okay, the person who has that question, is a good question.
It is. I think it is.
They haven't read the electoral law. The new electoral law, you win on the platform of one party, you can no longer decamp. If you decamp, you lose your seat, which is a good thing, So definitely, I had no plans to decamp, and there's no way to even decamp anyway. But you see, politics about alliances, influencing each other. I have a lot of people, a lot of personal friends in different parties at different levels of government, both in the House of Representatives, the Senate, in government. And the idea, what we need in Nigeria right now is like minds. It's not an issue of parties. Because if you talk about the parties, you say, okay, ideology. What's the ideology? A lot of people have not even read their party's manifesto before. A lot of people in senior positions within the party. So I think it's about friends, associates, people that you meet, being able to convince people, finding people of like minds, and then you get things done.
Okay, thank you very much. This question came in just now. It says, if indeed you are successful in cutting costs of running government, how do you channel the funds into tangible benefits to local communities?
Again, I say I have to go back that I'm legislative. There are so many things that has to be done. When you look at the system of government in this country and how money is apportioned, it's not that there are not some good systems in place. They're just flagrantly dismissed. Nobody obeys them. So what we'll try to do, I think it'll be beyond this program. Cutting the cost of government alone is not what's going to make all the resources available for us to address. We're hoping that whoever wins the presidency, we have somebody in place who also has this mindset, who understands what the needs of Nigeria is, and who actually wants to go there to serve the majority of Nigerians who are poor.
Okay, thank you very much. This one is, please listen very well because it's long and convoluted somehow. Speaking of separation of powers, constitutionally, the relationship between the legislative and executive should be interdependent in nature. But reverse is the case today. The majority of the legislators are at the mercy of the executives to the detriment of the people they represent. What would you do differently within your capacity as a senator to ensure that the legislative arm is dependent in the discharge of their constitutional duties?
Well, I've said it. The laws are there, the rules are there. I'm one person. We will build coalitions. You see, when you're in the assembly, legislative arm of government, your job is not to go there to be fighting the executive every day. No, certainly not. If they're doing something that's good and that's progressive, you give as much support as you can. But everybody should go to Abuja, so to speak, with their conscience. I tell people I have several constituencies. My first constituency are my sisters, my brothers, my immediate family, my first constituency. And there's certain things I cannot do because I cannot face them if I do it. And I know some of them will even call me on the phone. A lot of people don't have those safeguards. My second constituency are people like you, my friends, people who we've all grown up together. We have a value code, and they expect that when I'm going there, there's a certain thing that they expect. And then the constituency that I actually represent through votes on those states. So this thing boils down, sorry, this is just an anecdote now, and it's very important. I was with Chief Olufalaye in Akure some time ago to go and seek his support. He's a king now, so he can't really get involved in active politics. And he was talking about my late father. My father went to the Constitutional Conference in the times of Abacha. Himself and a lot of people tried to say, oh, we're not attending the conference. And my father said, no, I'm going to go to the conference. I'm going to go and speak. If you know my father, he was a very articulate man, very forceful speaker. And so they agreed that, okay, he should go. So he went and he represented Ondo at the Constitutional Conference. And when they started the conference, he was given the floor. And of course, spoke, extensively on what should happen, what should not happen, all that. And they all clapped for him, and it was fantastic. And then Olufalaye says he now met him about a month later and said, what is happening? Are things moving forward? He said, I don't know, that he has resigned. And he said, why did you resign? He said, Olu, I put up my hand, I put up my leg, they don't call me again. Because they realized that what he was saying was not what they wanted to hear. So, those things happen. So at the end of the day, like I said, you approach these things with wisdom also. There's some things you believe, and people will know what you believe, but you are going to be able to moderate some of your views, and most importantly, work with other people to see how these things come to fruition.
Thank you. This is the last question I have. Maybe somebody will ask another one. This is from an Ondo indigent. It says, Ondo State's unemployment rate is one of the highest in the country. How do you intend to grab the interest and hearts of minds of the Ondo youth?
That's many questions in one. But this is something that's also very interesting. You know what I try to do? I tell you there are two types of youth. There's those need intervention, and there's those need empowerment. But at the end of the day, everybody needs employment. The employment issue is a big issue. And like I said, all this legislation at the federal level will help generally across the country. But what I want to do in Ondo State itself is to be able to use my platform as a senator, partner with the private sector, partner with people within my network, partner with a lot of people I know in business who otherwise will not think anything of Ondo. But if I am there and I'm saying, look, come, this exists. You know, there's a quarry there, there's marble here, there's this there, we can get money from here, there. You know, bringing people together. I keep on saying that when you're a senator, it's a platform more than anything else. First of all, yes, of course, there's prestige in the office. There's a great deal of influence in government quarters within the office. And if you have done something before, which is the problem we have a lot of people going to office in Nigeria, they have no history or before of doing anything tangible. Yeah. So they're not bringing anything even to the table, you know, except what they're going to benefit from there. Certainly not all of them, but a lot.
Okay. I think at this point, we know why we're here. I'm going to reiterate what I said earlier. It's about funding this movement. It's really a movement at this point from what I'm hearing, the way he has tailored every single thing he wants to do, what we want to acquire, what we want to do for the Ondo Central. So if you can, please, on the screen right now is still the account details of Ondo Heritage Group. Fund it as much as possible. Let us see your hand. Let him be able to move forward from now till, we still have about what, 4 weeks? Less than 4 weeks before the election. So it's important that we get our candidate in. Please donate and donate some more. If you donate today, you can still donate tomorrow. There's no stoppage, no limit as to how many times you can donate. But at this point, I'm going to let Mr. Akinola or Engineer Akinola tell us way forward. What next?
What next?
After today, yes.
What next after today? What next after today? Well, we go back to the pit.
To the pit.
You know, to do what we need to do. We continue to go and look at our election strategy. A lot of people, like I said, oh, you know, SDP is a minority party. I was in the APC for a very, very long time. You know, ACN, APC. I've helped a friend of mine run for governor in one of the Middle Belt states. I was involved, you know, was there. But we left because we saw all the things that were going on. You would not even be given an opportunity to get a form, not even talk about competing. And so people say, oh, it's a small party, it's a minority party, but it's not about parties. If you look at the last election in Ondo State, like I said, in my senatorial zone, there are 4 positions that were up for grabs. One was the Senate, which covers the 6 local governments. And then we have 3 House of Representatives members, 2 local governments to each House of Representative members. The election was held on the same day for both the Senate and all the House of Representative members. At the end of the day, when the dust settled, PDP took the Senate seat. That's comprising the 6 local governments. ADC took the House of Representatives in the federal constituency, Ondo West and Ondo East. SDP took the House of Representatives for Ifedore, Idori. And then APC, the ruling party, only took 1 House of Representatives for Akure. What's more important is that the PDP that won the Senate seat did not win any of the House of Representatives seats within its own. So people have discerned, especially in Ondo, you know, people know how to vote.
Actually, to buttress your point, I mean, I'm from Lagos State, yes. But I'm related to Ondo State somehow, Abi. At this point, I'm an Ondo man myself. But I looked at it from a different perspective when somebody said, why is Akinka in SDP? And I said to myself, this is not a dib or insult on Ondo people, but I say, in this region, this geopolitical region, there's only one state that is Alagidi that I say we won't go with the norm, and I've voted a Labour governor.
Yes.
Not APC, not nothing, just we have our own mind and this is how we do it.
Absolutely. And I
So I just thought that alone, by the time I looked at it from my perspective, I said,
absolutely.
maybe I can have something here. But there's a very interesting question that somebody just posed here. I'm not going to read the person's name. It says, many of the people that are on this platform right now, that are reaching out, that you are reaching out to, have no benefit from your becoming a senator in Ondo Central. As they do not live there or work there, why should they support you?
Well, you know, it's very interesting. A lot of people had no benefit from Muhammadu Buhari, who is from Daura, to be president, but you can see the impact that it has on their lives. There are 3 levels why they should support me, and I'm serious now. Number 1, supporting me and getting me to win this election, it's a watershed moment. People now realize that, you know what, it's possible for people to do this. It's possible. So it may be Ondo today, next time is Ogun, next time is Oyo, next time is Kogi, next time is Katsina, wherever it is. So we are all, I mean, some people say it's a social experiment. It's not an experiment. I am serious about what I'm doing.
Of course.
But you see, if people get involved, they also show, look, Ola, I was saying that I had donations from 126 people so far. I mean, I've committed a lot of my own resources. And again, I must say my family, I commend them again and again and again. They've been so supportive. They've committed their own resources as well. But people are donating. And people need to realize that what you don't think has a direct impact on you now, at the end of the day, has an impact on you. When they raise the hands for the votes, for things like the restructuring of Nigeria in a way that's equitable for everybody, you want somebody there who is going to champion the voice of reason. And that's going to affect you. It's going to affect your business. It's going to affect resource control. It's going to affect so many things. Sometimes you want somebody there so that when you go abroad, you're not embarrassed at the quality of representation we have abroad, which impacts you. When you have that green passport and you go out there, they don't want to know whether the person that represented you came from Ondo or came from Maiduguri or they don't, he's a Nigerian. You know, it affects you. Again, you support me. You're also doing what you should do. Because most of the people don't support, they complain the most. Or they complain the most. The road is bad, this is good, and there's no light, there's this, there's no that. Yes, as a legislator, like you said, I can't wave a magic wand, but everything starts from somewhere, and it will definitely impact the lives of everybody.
Thank you very much for that answer. I will tell you one thing. When we started this, I was looking at the number of people that joined. And I'm thinking that it's been more impactful now because there were about 40-something people when we started. It went to 50-something. We're over 100 now at the question and answer session. So I'm thinking that more people got the question and answer sessions more so than anything else. I don't want to say thank you all very much yet, but the reason for us being here, the interactive one, it's been quite interactive because so many people have asked the question. Somebody put something here. The more people like us that get there, the better will be for us all. You go, Senator Akinola. Somebody just said that. The more people like us that do this, it's the simple person that asked the last question. So there you have it. Please do not forget. It's important. This is the last 50-yard dash for donating and contributing to this funding. We really appreciate your joining us. It's still, well, we've done the hour, so let the candidate tell us what he wants.
You know, it's very funny, and I mean, this is jokingly and all that, but it's about us as a people.
Yes.
Between Wednesday to today, I've had maybe about 35 people who have called me and said, oh, I'm not joining any Zoom, right Zoom, or I'm going to the beach, I'm doing this, but I'll send you, and they have sent in their donations. They have done so maybe because it's me. And even before we started this, many more started coming in, so many people are not on the platform. So it shows you 2 things. First of all, there are certain people who are there, they care about this country, and they want to donate to support, because they just believe you get there and do something. But they're not interested in the nitty-gritty and the details of the issues of this country, which is a problem. Because until you know what they are, and you're interested and you have passion for them, you cannot be committed to them, you know. So
that's it. So would you want to, for the 100 and how many people? 99 people now that are here. What's your last word for them before we switch off?
Well, my last word is, first of all, a lot of things that we've said about the things that people need in our rural communities and how a little bit of money can change the lives of people. It's for people to just keep this in mind. And these people whose lives you're changing sometimes, if you don't, it gets to a point where they will turn around and bite you. You know, it will happen. You know, I've seen the frustration on the faces of people, 500 naira for petrol, rice at 50,000, etc., etc. So I'm saying everybody should get involved in community, in serving their community. If their community is in Lagos, fine. If it's in Abuja, fine. If it's in their hometown, they can send their help. They know people who are doing things there. That's one thing. The second thing is the various issues I've raised. You know, talk to people about it. Talk to your friends about it. And you'll get everybody passionate and involved in the Nigerian project, so to speak. And then to people who you know who didn't come on the program and you know they have money to donate, tell them they should keep the money. We don't stop. Our doors are open until the 24th of February. You know, that's it. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much, and we shall be expecting your donations as they trickle in. Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful week ahead.
Thank you.
Àtùbárí Matoshi Akínyínká la fẹ́ o.
Àtùbárí Matoshi òun làwa fẹ́ níjọba.
Òkùnkùn lè borí ìmọ́lẹ̀ láéláé. Akínyínká Akínọlá ò fún sẹ́nẹ́tọ̀ Ondo Central.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́sí funfun ICP ló ti jáde.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Kárígó kárígó Akínyínká ò kárígó.
Gbogbo ẹni tó bá Akínyínká rán.